Get back to that firing at each other.
Fiery attitude?
Yes.
Or up.
All right, we're back in session. Go ahead and turn it over to Jason.
All right. Thanks for coming in, everyone that came in, and Christy that's already been here all the time. So if you want to just go through, and I don't care which order we go in, but let's just go through any changes in your budget that are any way substantial. Let's talk about those, hit your highlights, and any then budget requests that we have. Let's hit those and chat about those.
Huh?
Do your intro.
You want me to go? Okay. So mine is pretty simple. Oh, Carrie Colby, Chief Deputy Clerk. We're taking notes for a minute, Christy.
Oh, are we introducing and then going?
Yeah,
Julie
Julie,
Hancock, Bannock
sorry.
County Elections Administrator.
Christy Clauser Cultural.
Nailed it.
Okay. So mine's fairly simple. I've looked at our spending over the last couple of years, decreased where I feel like we were over budgeted, and I have a minimum, just a small increase this year, but I can go through those. One of the big ones was I put 5,000 in our document archiving and storage line, and that is so that we can upload all of the microfilm and book images that we got scanned by that company that we was working with the title company contract. So they're scanning all of our microfilm images, and they're going to give those to us in a format that we can then upload into our new recording software. And so I got a quote on that for roughly $4,000, but she said sometimes there can be leeway, so I put $5,000 in there to be safe. That's my biggest increase. And then I had a $1,000 increase on our operating supplies. That's at 424 line, and that's just because that's our on-base and Integra maintenance per year, and that just annually increases. So I just added an extra 1,000 in there for that to make sure we were covered there. And then the other increase was for my travel. I added extra in there. We didn't have any last year. This is a new line that was there, so I was just pulling my travel out of our clerk recorder travel budget. And so I reduced the clerk recorder travel budget and then added some to that new line item. There is a conference that's out of state. I'm not sure where it's going to be this year, that Christy and a couple girls from auditors attended this year that said was very beneficial. And so if it works out, and depending on what they have on the agenda, I might want to attend next year. That's why that's a little bit higher this year.
That's that Tyler.
The Tyler training.
Tyler training, yeah.
It'll be in Indianapolis next year. But they also have her Eagle recording. So
Yeah. Other than that, I lowered areas where I felt like we were budgeted a little bit high compared to what we were spending. Overall, my increased budget this year is $7,750. Like I said, 5,000 of that is to upload those old images into our new software, so those are easily accessible. And then $1,000 for the maintenance, and then a little bit for my travel.
With that one, with the scanning, we really kind of lucked out on that. That was a job that we could have paid up to about $30,000 to have all of that scanned in, and we got that for free in that contract. We gave them all of our images for free. They gave us all of the scanned images back for free, but then to upload them for our use in our recording system, that's what the charge will be. So
Correct.
It's
And
really
early we
was a
talked
good
about
deal.
that too, for when I came in to request that contract be approved. If we could get it done this budget year, we could find the funds to do it. I just don't know if it's gonna make it or not. Just depends
I think
on-
it will.
So we'll continue to watch that. If we can take it out of the commission proposed, we will.
Yep. No problem.
I did add fuel. That was something that we haven't had in the past. But I know that when we've gone to Boise or conferences in Idaho Falls or something, we've just put fuel on a credit card, and I don't even know where we've coded it in the past.
Travel.
So
We normally put it.
I
in
added
Jason's
$500 for fuel for that, just in case.
It always come out of Terrell's budget, so now it's coming out of
Okay,
John's.
sweet.
travel. We take ours out of Jason's.
She remembers everything. I'm like, I know it came out of somewhere, but I don't know where Christy said to put it.
Jason drove. Except that 1 year.
Right?
Other than that, I think that's mine. Unless anybody has any questions.
No questions there?
An easy one. Now the hard one.
And salaries, obviously, I didn't put salaries in, but we
I
all
didn't
do
do
a
that
good
either.
job, so, but I know you guys will just put in there what we can afford, so.
And just like I just asked Braden, what's your feelings?
On salaries? I mean, I'm just like everybody else, you get it from your employees, everybody wants a raise, I mean, the cost of things are up. I mean, I feel like everybody deserves a raise, what that is, I don't necessarily have a feeling. I feel like the biggest complaint I see or receive is that we haven't had step increases, blah, 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 blah. So obviously I would say a step increase. That way people say, okay, yeah, we actually got a step increase this year, but I know you guys do what you can with what we can afford, so.
And the step increase is 4.5,
1.4.
1.4
1.4 is
per step.
Per step.
But then what's
If we did a COLA, it'd be on top of that.
on top?
7%, I mean, if you're asking, like last year. 14, actually.
Well, and you go back to your employees now and say, this is what I asked for.
Never mind, I'm changing my mind.
And you know how I negotiate.
Don't tell them it's a negotiation, just say more.
I'm not negotiating. You guys gotta do what you're gonna do, so there's my feelings.
Thank you.
I have no input on wages either. I think we're fine with, I don't think that's something we need to talk about. There's only 2 of us over there and the other 2 are temporary, so I haven't had any complaints or disgruntled over wages. They're disgruntled about other stuff. Their boss mostly, I think.
He's sitting up here.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
On the record.
I'm like, which one, you or you?
Let's see, we just got one of them from somebody that just quit too.
Okay, so are we starting 42,000? That's where mine starts, am I correct? And
Yes.
okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, similar to your guys' county operations, we've divided up by function, the clerk, elections, and auditing. So Julie's extension is 11. If you want to find those lines on that second page.
Oh, the last 2? Oh, I actually didn't
You
realize
have yours
that.
highlighted, it's fine, you're good.
Okay. I had to make it bigger so I couldn't see. So you'll see in these, almost across the board, I went up with everything because we're heading into a presidential year. And I'm not sure what's going to happen in August. I'm not sure what's going to happen in November. Last November, in an odd year, we had 11 different ballot styles, which gets expensive. Then going into a May primary, if all 4 parties have contested races in a primary, that creates also a larger amount of ballot purchases. So I went up just a little bit on office supplies. We'll have probably more poll workers also. Operating supplies stayed the same. Repairs and maintenance office equipment, I went up a little bit. We have 2 machines now that we pay a maintenance agreement on. And so that account was a little bit short anyway. Postage, definitely going to be mailing out more ballots in November and again in May. So I bounced that up a little bit. Our travel for elections went up. Brandy's showing an interest in maybe wanting to attend the elections conferences moving forward, which I think would be really healthy for keep educated on what's coming up and what's new. Same with education got a little short also, so I bumped that up just a little bit. Building repairs and maintenance, when we did our remodel over there, so that doesn't need to have anything in it. The lease, that lease for elections, that was the equipment we leased. Yeah, we paid that off, so that's 0. Supplies, I went up a little. Precinct labor, just a little bit. Ballots should be able to stay the same because we got that ballot on demand system, which is really helping reduce that cost of having them printed.
So you think even with the presidential and the things that you identified earlier, that 100,000 will still be enough?
Yeah.
Even though in 22 you went over that?
In 22.
22 says we went 103,000?
Oh, did we in 2022?
We'll save that with the ballot on demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
Just
that was a
that's
good
short.
purchase.
Mhm.
Okay.
The thing about it is being able to track it, like when the timing and the deadlines are such that I need to get at least, I'll throw some numbers out, 100 ballots for each precinct for early voting. And then we start getting busier, something sparks the community to have a huge influx. We track how many ballots are, inventorying in those, and then we start printing them prior to running out so that we know exactly where we're at, instead of buying 200 ballots for each
Starting
precinct.
early.
Yeah, and then we're printing 10 or 15 at a time, depending on how the people are coming in. Like in May, I didn't even order absentee ballots, so that was a pretty big savings right there. We just printed them as we needed them because we only voted 34 people early or something silly like that. But
Okay.
did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just saw that number and was a little concerned where 22 we went over.
Yeah,
that, but
that's
with
gonna
the-
be a great savings. It's really nice. Because they're about 30 cents cheaper per ballot is about right.
Oh,
isn't it?
no.
No, not quite that. 20 cents.
Yeah, the printed ballot, if you do a color code, so especially when you have different party ballots in like a primary, they're 31 cents. And then this stock is, I think it's less than that. I think it's like 15 cents. It's at least half.
But you're also not ordering and then not needing
And
it.
wasting.
Right. You're also not paying shipping.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
There's a lot of savings in those
Yeah.
ballot on demands. It's great.
Cool.
Elections expense stayed the same, mileage stayed the same, advertising up a little bit, just because if I have to put 11 ballot styles in the newspaper, it's gonna be $3,000 probably. The second legal notice has to have those in there, so that makes a pretty big advertisement. Okay. Scanners, we bought another scanner, and so I had to bump that up for license and maintenance, and then the express votes stayed the same because we haven't bought any more of those.
So my only question is, like poll workers, who sets their wages and stuff? I mean, does that fluctuate or go up or down? How does that work?
It doesn't fluctuate. Well, because we do a set, we don't do like an hourly wage for them. We give them $20 if they come to the training as an incentive. State statute says we have to train all of them before every election. And then I've lost it now, 180 for the chief judge who's in charge. And then if you don't go to the training, it's like 122 if you go to the training. But there's a state statute that says county clerk and budgeting-wise, commissioners can set those wages.
Okay, I just didn't know
That was
how
a-
often they get adjusted or what's happened.
That was a long way to get to that answer. I'm sorry, Commissioner. But it is also in state statute that they have to be paid at least a minimum wage. So if that minimum wage goes up, the very bottom line is minimum wage if they don't go to training and they just show up on election day.
Yeah, as we fill out, or as we sign all them, I just have wondered about the
Yeah.
changes or difference between who and how and what a little bit.
Yeah. We do get some complaints sometimes on the wages that they get paid. It doesn't happen often, but I think most of them are, they're giving back to their community and they're happy to do it because it's important work.
So you volunteer
that gets paid.
And then complain about the wage.
Yeah.
There's very few of them that do. There's a lot of people that show up
So
and
as
help.
we're over there and they're bringing the machines back and stuff, I mean, they're great
$7.25
people.
an hour.
Yeah.
You see them come in and they've had a tough day, a long
Yeah.
day, but they're all excited
Mhm.
and
Smiling.
proud of what they accomplished.
Oh, yeah, yeah. When we went to Omaha, Nebraska, this is just a little side note, they do poll worker summons, like they do a jury summons.
Oh, really?
You can be summoned and warrant for your arrest if you don't show up and get summoned to work on an election day and go to the
Court
training.
Jury
Yeah.
duty, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They run it very similar to jury duty and how they get their volunteers.
That's interesting.
And it rotates and.
We were the
Yeah.
largest county in Nebraska, so it was, they need like, was it 8,000 poll workers or something like that?
I think it was more than that.
Was it more than that?
That's a lot of poll workers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
training.
That's a lot of training and wrangling people,
Yeah.
Yeah,
herding cats.
They had, I think they had close to 400,000 voters in that county.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
A lot of people.
So that's my line items. Do we want to do yours?
Capital real quick.
Okay. So the capital outlay, we're asking for electronic poll books. There's some obvious reasons why. The upload and the download versus hand balancing a poll book for voter history. The safety features, this is a 5-page kind of what makes them secure, what makes them safe. Not, they don't have the ability to be hacked. If somebody takes one off of a table at a polling place, at my control station in my office, I can wipe it clean of data so nothing gets out there. They all communicate with each other through, by precincts. At any given point during the day, I can bring up all of the precincts and be able to tell you exactly how many people voted in each precinct at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, things like that. So we're looking at more of a collecting of data for, a lot of different reasons, but also the time savings. The figure I put on the capital outlay, $14,774 in one election is what saves labor from balancing a paper poll book, especially in a primary. So, and I've made copies of these if you want to look those over before making a decision. The other caveat to this is that Bannock County is eligible for HAVA funds, and so it would be federally funded and it would not be an impact to Bannock County taxpayers at all. If we spend $30,000, we get $52,000, and the amount that we're looking for is $46,000, so we're right in that ballpark. And that funds have already been set aside for Bannock County to purchase e-poll books.
That's pretty simple to me.
One of the things that's nice, and we don't see this a lot here, but one of the things that happens when people are trying to prove that they can vote twice or whatever the case is in other places, is they'll go and they'll vote at their old precinct, and then if they moved and they have new information and they want to go over here and re-register to vote across town, with e-poll books, once they vote, they get shut out. They can't go over and do a same-day voter registration over here because the e-poll books will say, no, Jason Dixon has already voted in precinct 36. So he can't vote in precinct 25, whatever the case is. So it's really nice. And the data that you can collect on voter history and things like that is really nice.
Well, in the paper savings, in a bigger election, we'll run through 20, 30,000 pages just printing paper poll books for 57 precincts, And maybe we'll save a tree or two.
Yep. So
I'm gonna throw out there too, the mayoral runoff,
Ooh.
when we had to balance all those poll books and get ready for another election in what, 30 days?
Mhm.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
This would have saved immensely if we had that to
Yep.
automatically upload.
What does this device look like? Is it like a tablet or something?
It's an iPad, yeah, it's an
iPad.
Apple iPad.
And how do they communicate with these? Because it sounds like you're saying they communicate with each other all around the county. How
Yep.
do they do that?
You have to use hotspots. Is that what they're called?
Mhm.
There's a couple of the counties have already looked into what works the best and what's the most secure. And so I'm going to talk to Twin Falls and see what, I can't remember. Most of this is so full of tech language. I wish I could tell you more, but I don't understand half of what I'm reading in what makes these so secure. And part of that is how you set them up so that they can communicate with each other. If we had Adam in here, he probably could tell you a big old dissertation on how that works.
They create an encrypted network.
An encrypted network.
Like a VPN,
VPN.
so probably something like
Yeah.
that.
So
I know, there's-
they've put they come to all the conferences, and basically we are the only county in the state that's not using them at this point.
Are we?
Do you actually vote on those, or that
No.
just
No.
collects the data? That's the poll
No.
workers book that checks off.
When you-
It's just the voter database. So they don't tabulate the ballots, never, they don't look at any of the ballots. It's just our voter database. Somebody walks in, shows a driver's license, they look them up, they actually sign it like a
Okay.
UPS
Mhm.
deal. The voter, they will actually enter the voter registration card when somebody registers to vote.
Yeah, it
Like
has
on
nothing
that
to do
iPad?
with the vote.
Right.
It just tracks who has voted. So it replaces the paper that you sign when you go. You sign on the tablet. So it's not linked in any way to the vote or counting the vote. It has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Two very different technologies when you're looking at a digital scanner that's counting ballots and looking for the oval and doing results, and then when you our voter that's what our checks and balances are. When you look at the voter database and you put in voter history, 201 people voted in this election. How many ballots did we count? Oh, 201. And that's communication that does not. That's two technologies that don't communicate with each other. So that's how we know everything went the way it should have gone if we match.
One of the nice things about this also is it automatically collects a lot of data when the poll workers are there. Phil had shown some data at our last conference, and he showed us the state, and we were a big black spot because we're the only, especially big county, that doesn't have them. And he showed on there the counties that used that 99 point whatever percent used their driver's license to prove who they were to vote.
Yeah, and less than 1% used a student ID, which helped legislation to make the decision to take that student ID off of the approved ID list.
Yeah, so it was this technology that kind of got us that. So anyways, and it's HAVA funds, and so we should be able to swing it that way if we get it. We just have to budget for it.
So the driver's license number, so is in the system.
Mhm.
That's what they're using. So that's going to be communicating, and so that's how they would know that, like, if a Jason Dixon votes here and tries to vote somewhere else, that it's the same Jason Dixon by the driver's license number?
Right.
Okay.
That's how we enter every card, by driver's license number or last four of the social, but we're connected to driver's license.
Okay.
So if we don't get a match on that particular voter, then something's wrong. They put their birthday in wrong, they spelled their name wrong, we entered something wrong. And so, along with that name and that driver's license number, they're unique.
Right, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So we can talk about that a little bit more as it comes down the road, but
Okay.
that's a good technology.
So for my office, I did have one request on salaries to change one of my accounts to a senior, which would be a grade 14. And then on the next page, under the function of 12, as our office supplies, we took operating up just a little bit. We have not seen a decrease in envelopes or payments, so our office supplies have not gone down at all, just simply because we're processing even more than what we normally have with payments. The only other change, we took postage up a little bit for that same reason. And then travel and education, I took up just simply because our office covers the Tyler Conference. If we send 2 people, that training is really expensive. And I'd like to send 3 people to it, just so that we have payroll, the finance side, and then I like to go so I know what my people are doing and what changes we can make. And then we also cover all of the grant training out of my budget. Mandy is new, so she's going to require a little bit more education. Most of hers is going to be online, but there are some outside opportunities. In August, we're going to go to a management class. And then that also covers Nancy, and Chantel is providing backup for grants as well. So it looks like a lot, but we've got a lot of different functions within our office that we're providing educational opportunities for. And then we have my GFOA training that we have to keep up on. Most of those are webinars. Next year I will go to the annual conference again because it won't be in Portland, Oregon. The certificate that we submit for, and that's all I've got. Any questions?
I don't have any.
Nope, that's pretty clean.
Just like that.
And I don't have any either.
All right.
Do you want a copy of this that talks a little more in depth about e-poll books?
Sure. Put it in the book and then it reminds me to what we talked about a little bit.
And I'll get with you on those HAVA funds.
Yeah, I've got
So
a,
that we can, if we're gonna have some grant money on it, then we may not need to budget the whole amount. So we'll work through that on the clerk's
I gotta call Kathy Abbott and make an appointment.